know.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, we will.
All right, we're live.
All righty. Go ahead, Scott.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get this very first Zoom Finance Committee meeting going. I have a hard copy of the agenda in front of me, and I've got two computers because I got all sorts of paperwork laying around for this. So bear with me as we go through this. But let's go ahead and get started. And let us start, since Mary is on the line there, she was the first on. Let's start with Equalization Director requests approval for the 2020 State Tax Commission report, otherwise known as the L.
4029.
I don't think that's it. I think there's a 24 in there. Is there?
It used to be called that.
All right,
Mary?
I unmuted myself because you're both wrong.
Ah!
You have to unmute yourself anyway so we can hear you.
Yeah. So, Mary, why don't you go ahead? I think this is pretty standard issue, but let's go ahead and get this taken care of.
It is very standard issue. Same type of reporting that's done on an annual basis. It's the result of the studies that we've completed in this past year, based on a sale period that actually ended as of April 1st of last year. And I would think that it looked to me by the results of the studies that the market was held up by really good residential real estate pricing. The commercial and industrial were, pretty flat on the overall. A big part of the city's project was redoing the whole industrial related to the Dow DuPont separation into the different companies and reassessing the iPark. The manager over there spent a significant amount of time on that. It's still like an ongoing thing, but that ended up in a pretty flat result. If you're looking at the details of the study, the loss that you see happen is in the personal property. And of course, that has to do with it becoming exempt as it ages and, with the new EMPP program that started 3 or 4 years ago. So it was actually a pretty good year. Obviously, I'm going to be tracking really carefully what's happening from this point forward. I have a feeling that, there's going to be a lot of changes in how we have to do things in the upcoming year, but I'm ready for whatever happens. So
yeah.
But you all saw the taxable value report that was for information only.
Right.
That's where typically the focus is because it's related to dollars and revenue.
Yeah. So just to confirm from my perspective, it looked like it was like about up 1.7% or so.
That's
around
correct.
$60,000. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I like
So
the direction.
Yeah. It's actually pretty positive considering, all the other things that are going on. But
yeah.
And so our study period is now done for this year too. And I'm going to start looking at what's happening there, but I'll have to monitor everything up through November this year because we could be looking at, some repressed conditions that have different rules attached. So
when you say different rules attached, what does that mean?
The sale period then goes up until November 1st. And I have to do the sales studies to determine whether or not we were suffering a declining market. And of course, it hasn't happened yet. So we don't know what that answer is going to look like. Nobody could know that for sure. But I always have to extend the study period out for that purpose. But it's obvious when we're having positive market conditions and, less attention has to be paid to that part. This year, obviously, there's going to be a lot of attention paid to what's coming between now and the end of the 1 year study.
Right. Yeah, and I just wanted to make the distinction. I think I brought this up to Bridget earlier that, with the COVID virus stuff, there are things that have direct impact to our budget and things that have indirect impact. And, property tax evaluations, in my mind, are more indirect unless somebody has a better understanding of how that's directly impacted.
Well, as long as they're paid, I suppose that's a true statement.
Well, yeah, it's a good point. So foreclosures
but yes,
and all that. Right.
It's a delayed impact because we're studying the past.
And if we look at our budget, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's somewhere around 45-50% of our total revenue comes from the tax roll. Is that about right, Bridget?
That's about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different. I mean, it's gone down since the PPT elimination of PPT and getting that money back from the state is in the form of a grant now.
Okay, and,
So it's
and who knows that that
reclassification.
grant could be affected by some of the state financial issues.
Right.
So I just want to keep that perspective in mind as we start looking at the total impact, where do we have additional costs, where we have loss of revenue, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think from a property tax standpoint, we're probably okay at this point in time.
I would agree.
Okay, Jim or Jeanette, have you guys got any questions?
Not at this point.
I think I'm all set.
Okay, I would entertain a motion then to approve.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, it's moved and supported. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 I got 3 ayes there, I think.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so
I
that's
only have
approved.
2 ayes.
Yeah. Okay, Mary, hey,
Oh,
good
boy.
point.
Thanks.
Mary, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and log out because I'm actually getting back to work. So,
Yep.
Okay, be
All right.
safe.
Thank you.
thank you.
Take
You
care.
too. Goodbye.
Hey, before I forget, Bridget, did you happen to know that Ken Borton did have the virus?
No.
Yeah, he, and interestingly enough, both of us were sick at,
Yes, and you want to know what? I hugged him at Yvonne's memorial.
yeah, well,
I was never
I-
sick, but I suppose.
I was sick and I don't know that I never had a fever, so
Right.
I didn't give it all that much attention. But anyway, long story short, he's
What-
recovered now.
When was he diagnosed?
I don't know. I just saw it in an email that he sent to Steve.
You should
The-
ask him out of curiosity, since your administrator controller was in close contact with him.
I will ask him,
Just curious.
but if it was as a result of the illness that he had was out there while he was out there, that's been well over a month ago.
Right, right.
So,
Huh.
okay, well, let's move on. How
John,
about
John Schmoody is on the phone.
John is on the phone. Okay, John, welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. Thank goodness.
So you're a little distorted in your audio.
Yeah, is it possible for you to go? It sounds like you're on hands only.
Well, I'm on one of my wife's laptops because I just cannot get the phone.
Give me your phone.
To work.
That could be, see if it's better now.
Is it better now?
A little bit.
Okay.
Okay, well, why don't you just take over and tell us about this wonderful opportunity we have?
Okay. What it is this is some funding through the Friends of Pure Marquette Rail Trail. Again, it's a 501c3 agency, and the purpose of the group, as I'm sure you know, is to benefit the rail trail. All 3 municipalities that are involved with it: City of Midland, County of Midland, and County of Isabella. And so they asked me about 2 days ago if there was anything that the county would be interested in purchasing. They like to do tangible things, equipment, and things like that. And we operate the largest piece of the trail, 22 miles. And so we pulled the staff quickly, and it was agreed that this piece of equipment would benefit our department and potentially reduce the need to send out a truck every single day and tie it up, because we can mobilize it from the shop at Sanford Lake Park. And we'll be able to outfit it with what's necessary in it for day-to-day maintenance. So that's kind of the idea in a nutshell.
Okay. Could you describe the vehicle just for me?
Yeah, it's a, if you're familiar with the John Deere Gator utility vehicles, it's a small version of that. And we expect a smaller version so that it can run through the bollard systems at each road crossing without having to pull the center bollards.
Got it. I don't have any further questions, Jeanette or Jim, questions?
I
see it.
didn't understand a word he said.
You didn't hear?
I was listening, but I didn't understand.
Yeah, I heard him. I think when someone isn't speaking, that the more people that are on mute, the better it comes through. But I could hear what he was saying. I'm comfortable because I was at Parks and I'm familiar with what's going on. It's an all-terrain vehicle. Since we have the most miles on the Pierre Marquette Trail, that's the reason why they gifted the money to us, my understanding.
Well, the thing is, it's a motorized vehicle though, right?
Correct. Yes,
And so you are allowed to drive that motorized vehicle on the,
Yeah, they plow.
For
with
maintenance
trucks.
purposes.
Yeah.
For
for
maintenance purposes only, okay?
yeah, it's only to maintain the trail. And it'll be outfitted with a light bar and a light, so it'll have strobing lights on it. And it'll have identification on the vehicle that will notify trail users that it's a Parks vehicle there to maintain the trail.
Okay,
Great. Any other questions? I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
so support,
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, thank you, John.
Thanks,
Hey, I
John.
appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Thank
Please
you.
stay safe.
Okay, thank you. Do you want me to come? Yeah,
Hey, John, Scott, and
Yeah.
Jim. Eric's on the line. Do we need John to come back on the line for A&O for this or no?
I don't
No.
think so.
Eric's shaking his head. John,
I
you're
don't-
off the hook for
It's up.
2:30.
It's up to
I
Jim.
don't need him.
okay,
Okay,
so do
thank
that. All
All
right,
right.
thank you.
you. Bye-bye.
Okay, next on my list is Health Director submits amendment. Is Fred on the line or is Bridget, are you gonna represent this? or-
Yeah, I can take care of it because he had another call he needed to be on.
I'm sure he's pretty
This
busy.
is, I mean, there are a few pieces of the amendment that are normal amendments that we see regularly throughout the year for the block grant from the health department. But a majority of this is all related to COVID-19. So, and again, this is money, and there will be another wave of this. I think we're probably going to get another $125,000 right away, and a majority for COVID-19, and a majority of it will be spent on wages. So Fred might be on the 2:30 call, but really the most important piece for you in this committee meeting is to make authorize and allow me to do the necessary budget adjustments.
Right, right. Okay, questions on this?
Which one are you on?
I'm sorry, I'm on number 3. Health Director submits amendment to the 2019-2020 Comprehensive Agreement.
Right. 32-4.
And this is basically an increase in grant money.
Right. If you
Primarily
remember,
for-
we get regularly throughout the year, we get amendments from the state of Michigan for the CPBC.
Right,
You know, again, mixed into this amendment is new money for COVID response. And I think there's, like I said, I know there's going to be even more of that coming. And typically it's been, the board approved an action allowing me to approve these up to $50,000 because that way we could move on them, but this is significantly more than that. So that's why you're seeing the detail of it on a regular agenda item.
Bridget, I do have a question in, are
Sure.
we able to document exactly where this money is going and how it's being used?
Yes,
It doesn't necessarily say that it must be used for COVID-19, correct?
actually, there's a section of the grant that does say that.
That the sole purpose of this grant money is for COVID-19
Yeah.
use.
$38,000, yep,
Okay.
of the 92.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
and you-
saw it was broken broken down. It said some things for, I think 25,000 was for hepatitis A. It was all broken down.
Yeah.
I read through it, but pretty standard.
So, but that was the point I was making. Hepatitis A is a different thing, right?
Right, well,
Yes.
but that
Yeah,
has a specific amount. So the whole grant amendment is for over $90,000.
Right.
Only 38 of it, if you read Mike's letter, only 38 of it is for COVID-19. Mike has it broken down really well in his financial letter. 25,000 is
Yeah.
for FA, emergency preparedness in the health department, just over 21,000.
Right.
5,000 for family planning. So we actually have an activity built into the health department fund specifically for COVID-19 response. So all of the
Okay.
folks in the health department are, you know, we're allocating wages there. That way we can track it all. I've got staff tracking extra time if they're exempt employees and they get paid a salary. I have them tracking time on a separate Excel spreadsheet because accountants love Excel spreadsheets. If I could have found a reason for them to have a pie chart, I would have sent that too. But I think that everyone, and Denise is working really closely with Jennifer on purchases. So, and keeping a sort of subsidiary ledger on what we're buying. And we have a separate activity in the general fund for COVID expenses also, so we can track them for the state and federal reimbursements if we need specifics.
Okay. Is that, I don't know if I want to call it a best practice, or is that recommended? The way to treat this right now is to keep it all in a separate pile.
I don't know if it's recommended best practice, but from our own past experience, it's the best thing to do because it's much
Okay.
easier for us when it comes time to submitting reports. It's
Yeah.
a lot harder to get information out of individual departments and look back a year and a half, or 6 months, or whatever it is. It's like waiting 6 months to reconcile your checkbook and then trying to figure out where the error was 5 months past.
Well, I'm glad I don't do that.
It just, right. You just don't do it at all.
No.
No.
No, every 6 months or so, I just take their number and I assume it's right.
Write it in your checkbook. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that I think is, we've seen, particularly when we were trying to submit expenses for flood reimbursement back in 2017, this is probably the best way for us to do this. We, in the health department, when we had the H1N1 crisis, which wasn't as bad as this, but we still had to track things separately if we wanted specific reimbursement forms. So some of these accounts were already established and we're just reusing them.
Well, the reason I bring it up too is because Mac had talked about, being able to get to the counties relatively quickly and understand, what they're spending relative to COVID.
Yeah, so you won't be surprised to know that I've already been on the phone with Dina twice, and I've submitted some responses to an email request that she put out asking for us to elaborate even more. And I got some input from Jennifer and Denise on things that I may have missed or forgotten about. So, I think that we're pretty well covered. And I had a pretty lengthy conversation with her about this late last week.
Hey, is Holly Berry a Midland County employee?
Halle Berry?
Holly Beverly?
Holly Beverly.
Yes.
Okay. She works for
The health department.
okay. All right.
Okay.
I didn't know what the distinction between her and Reese was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Did you have any more questions, Scott?
I don't think so.
Yeah. And again, you guys are just approving the budget adjustments for these.
Right. So
Move
I've
for
lost
approval.
track. Have we voted on this yet or no?
No, move for approval.
Okay,
Support.
moved and supported. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. All right, I'm going to move to agenda item 4. Administrator Controller submits grant award from the Michigan Municipal League for the purpose of increasing census response rates.
Yeah.
And Bridget, why don't I lead this with you?
Okay, and I'm gonna ask Nathan to weigh in a little bit. Nathan Fazer's on the call from GIS. So very kind of last minute, I got an email from the Michigan Municipal League saying that the county was eligible for up to $20,000 in grant funding to help with the census. This happened to be, if I'm not mistaken, correct me, Nathan, I think it was the same week that all this crap with COVID was really winding up, the week of the 16th of March. I think it was that Friday, am I right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so all this stuff, I got the notice on Tuesday or Wednesday. I sent it off to Nathan because he has been our representative on the Midland County Census Committee. And he's been working with Chloe Updegraff and some other folks on that committee, offering assistance and support. Particularly with GIS and mapping and looking at things in certain geographical areas of the county. So I had to fill out a form and write a letter, and we had to have a plan. And fortunately, Chloe and Nathan and the folks at the Midland Area Community Foundation were able to put some ideas down on paper of things we could use this money for to help us with the census collection, and we submitted it. I had Nathan is the person that I set up to have access to the Civics. Is it Civic Plus? Civics? Can't remember the name of that. I just sent you something on that too, Nathan.
Civic Analytics, I believe.
Civic Analytics, right? And so he is going to be the person that can get into that dashboard and help make updates. But I wasn't sure that we're going to be timely with it. I think it actually got submitted on Saturday. It was due Friday. And then on the date of the actual letter, which was, I don't know, last week, 2 weeks ago, I got this email saying that we'd been awarded the $20,000. So that's awesome. And we have, like I said, the folks at the Community Foundation and Chloe and Nathan have come up with some good ideas on how to spend this money to really make an impact. So I'm not sure how we're going to manage the expenditures yet. I've honestly considered writing a check to the Community Foundation and having them manage all the expenses because they're doing most of the work, or their staff members are doing most of the work. So I have to talk to them yet about it, but we're going to do what we can to make sure that we get this, that we use this money to the best benefit of Midland County. So I don't know how many grants they were giving out, but I was glad to get one.
Right. So my question on this, and it's kind of a generic question, when we get presented with, quote, this opportunity, that's 20, can we use it for existing expenditures and just offset our budget, or must it be new expenditures? I get it, it's all for the census, but
right.
How does that work?
Each grant that we get normally will outline whether or not you can offset current expenditures. Scott, most grants won't let you do that. It's the whole supplanting versus supplementing argument. Mike can draw back to his auditor days. When I was an auditor and we did single audits, a lot of the grants that we get from the federal government are very specific about the rules related to supplanting versus supplementing. So this, I think we really probably have more latitude with, but I think we want to be careful about not deviating too much from the plan that we proposed and all the possible expenditures, because that's what we submitted and that's what was approved. But I think if we wanted to make any major change with how the money was spent, we could reach out to the foundation and ask for some advice. So Nathan, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how this is going so far.
Yeah, Chloe had sent an email a week or two ago just on, now that we've got this grant, some ideas they were thinking of. Of course, with the whole COVID situation, they had a lot of in-person events planned and things that they're going to have to rethink. But As far as utilizing the funds, they've got some great ideas. Obviously, it's going to depend on how things go the next few weeks. They had things with public transit, and if those are shut down, utilizing the loons. Of course, if the baseball season's delayed, so there's still some things up in the air, but I'm keeping in touch with Chloe on what she might need from us and kind of what they're thinking of using this stuff for. So,
Okay.
Did you
Correct me
want,
if I'm,
go ahead, Scott.
correct me if I'm wrong, but the actual census takes us throughout the year, does it not?
Well, it goes until at least August.
yeah, and I actually saw something on the news this morning that Trump was looking at asking for an extension. So who
Extending,
knows?
yeah.
This
That
could go
wouldn't
all
surprise
year. Yep.
Right.
Scott, I had Nathan and Chris send out a link to the stuff that we've done on locally with ArcGIS, I think, Nathan, and Census. Jessica, do you want to share your screen on that, or do you want me to? Nathan, do you have an option to share your screen, or do you want me to do this?
I'm on my phone, so I don't.
Okay, let me just get back out here. Let's see. Let me pull it up. And then Nathan, you can walk me through anything that you might want me to show people once I get it up here.
Okay.
Okay.
So will this show up just in your small screen, Bridget, or?
You're gonna see it. Do you see it?
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
that's pretty cool.
yeah. Nathan, what would you like me to highlight? Walk me through what you would like to talk about.
I think the biggest thing is up on the toolbar up towards the top, there's a layers button.
Yep.
Yep. So there's quite a few resources out there on being able to track your current response rates. I've looked at a few of them. Some are easy to use, some are kind of clunky. But the census has a file out there that they're updating daily. And so what I did is just tied in that file with our GIS system so that
So
when
this
they
right here is the key.
Yep. So that tells
okay.
you all the different layers in the map you can turn off and on. By default, I have the current response rates by census tract. I think it's the lowest.
Let me unclick that and do this by governmental unit.
Yep. Yep. So they have governmental unit and then census tract is the lowest level. So this is being updated daily. They've got a cumulative response rate and then a daily response rate. So you can click on any of those in the map and it'll have a little pop-up and give you those numbers based on what the figures are. I've also been adding some other reference layers. We've got some broadband access layers that we got from our Connect Michigan database. I think those are up towards the top. So there's like DSL access, cable access. So that kind of gives you an idea of where broadband access is versus where the response rates are. I also added some ACS layers from our GIS software provider. This is all out online. So
what is ACS?
ACS is the American Community Survey. That's part of the census program.
Okay.
So that's part of a annual sampling they do. So that's got some interesting information on, people with disabilities or the elderly. I added a couple of them today. So, but this was something I built just trying to utilize more of our local information. And that way it's just focused on the Bay region and you're not looking at the whole state or Midwest or something like that. So I sent this out to the census committee. I'm hoping they're using it. Every few days I go in and kind of update this with some stuff. So
This looks pretty powerful. We're just looking at one screen and you're manipulating it, but it looks like you got a lot of functionality on this. And the obvious question is, are we getting to all the places we need to get?
Right.
And I guess one other question, is there any way to compare it to the last census? in terms of, so by census block, let's just say, and looking at percent of this year's relative to the last census block?
Yeah, I could definitely do that. I know at the census tract level, when I was putting this together, they've actually changed the tract boundaries from 2010 to what's going to be 2020.
Of course.
So I had to do a little manipulation and do some work to get the map that you currently see looking good. So, but yeah, we can definitely go grab that 2010 number and see what the response rate was from then. But as from what I've been seeing, we're doing really good this year. So
Fantastic. I mean, when did we officially start entering numbers? It's less than a month ago, right?
I believe so. Yeah. Mid-March.
Yeah,
Well,
so,
I think April 1st was Census Day.
Yep.
oh, right.
Mhm.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm actually kind of surprised we've got as much as we already have. Do you have the ability to find out how many were entered electronically versus mail-in?
Yes, they do have that breakdown in the data. I can definitely add that to the map.
That'd be awesome.
I'm just curious because that's the big difference between this and last time around. And I mean, I would anticipate getting a much better response rate with that kind of functionality.
Well, I will tell you, I mean, you may have already all done your census reporting, but it was
Yep.
really easy. And I had called my parents up in Gladwin County and said, did you get your paperwork about the census? Because if you haven't done it yet, I'll help you. But my mom said, I'm on top of it and I got it done already. So
Excellent.
I was glad to hear that.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that I got to the end and I didn't think I was at the end.
Right. It was so short, really.
Yeah. Okay, great. Fantastic. This is just what I needed. Appreciate it, Nathan and Bridget.
Yep.
Jim and Jeanette, any questions on this?
There were 9 questions on the, right? If you watch television, they would had an ad on it. How many questions were on the population? And there were
I
9.
remember, but there weren't many.
No.
9.
Okay. If no further questions, then I would entertain a motion to approve the grant award.
Moved.
You're authorizing me to make the budget adjustments.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I support that.
that's what we have Jessica for.
Right. And Eric is on. Do you need Nathan to come back for A&O? Okay. I think Nathan, you're off the hook for the rest of the day here.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Nathan. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet.
All right.
See ya.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Great. I believe we have one more item. That is the Drain Commissioner requests a resolution regarding Waldo on Branches
Doug is,
Intercounty. I'm sorry, Bridget?
Doug is on the phone. Your call-in number is Doug. So the 859-6613 is Doug. Doug, can you hear me?
Where is he?
Well, you can't see him, but his phone is on.
I can't hear him.
Hey, Doug. I
Can you
have
hear me
you
now?
unmuted. Yeah,
we can hear you now.
There
Okay.
you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Great. Doug, why don't you just go ahead and kind of summarize this real quickly for us? I think it's pretty straightforward as well, but go ahead.
Well, we're in the process of doing a big project in Larkin Township in conjunction with Bay County. And it's about $5.4 million project. So we need to sell bonds to finance that project. The resolution we're asking you to pass is a pledge of limited full faith and credit. In other words, if if everybody quit paying their taxes and weren't paying this special assessment, that the county would back the repayment of the bonds. Midland
Doug,
County's response, yes.
what is limited full faith?
It's the difference
Um,
between Bay City and Midland, isn't it?
Yes.
What
Well,
do you
the,
mean?
the pledge for full faith and credit is a pledge that it'll be one of the first obligations of the county. In other words, it comes before paying some of the other bills. Bridget can probably explain it much better than I can, but that pledge is not. It's still limited. In other words,
It's limited to our portion of the debt.
right. So
Okay,
Midland
that's-
County is responsible for 66% of the base assessment. 304,000 of this 5.4 million is a direct payment by the Bay County Road Commission. They've got a bridge that we're including in the project that they're paying for. They can get it done cheaper this way than going through the critical bridge process and quicker. So the base bid is 5.4 less the 304,000. Midland County is responsible for 66% of that number. So that's the limit, is up to that amount.
Okay, that's helpful. So if this was just 100% within the county, there wouldn't be a need for,
It'd be the full faith and credit of the county.
right, okay. Okay, that's all I have. Questions?
Hey, Doug, I had a quick question. Where are the boundaries in Larkin?
Well, it's basically the eastern third of the township. It also includes little slivers of the city of Midland, Midland Township, and Mills Township. But the
So what's-
boundaries are,
Okay.
it's basically east of Jefferson, but it's within that assessment district that's the Kiesel and Waldo drainage districts.
Okay,
They
so
don't
what's the
necessarily follow
western,
property lines.
what's the western north-south road?
Basically Jefferson. It doesn't follow the roads.
Oh, okay.
It follows the
So
high
it's not-
ground.
Okay, so it's it's nothing west of Jefferson.
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
This, Doug, what is the city of Midland picks it up? Is that right? As opposed to the townships or the actual property owners?
No.
For that portion of the drainage district that's in the city has decided that they want to pay what would be their property owner's share. In other words, it doesn't go to the property owners that
Right,
own
it
property
goes to
within
the
the
city.
city by
Yeah.
their choice.
Right.
But if they had chosen not to do that, the property owners would be responsible for the special assessment.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that each municipality has a share at large anyway.
Right. Does anyone have other questions? that
I
can
would
answer, or- Okay,
Entertain a motion to approve.
I will make that motion.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I
I
got
do
three
have
ayes.
another question though
Oh.
I have another question for Doug.
Sure.
Yes.
Doug, will you still be here when this is completed, or will you be handing it off to the new drain commissioner?
Well, after the bonds are sold, we can go ahead and sign contracts and let the contractor get started. But he's got a 2-year window to get this done, so I won't be here for the final completion of the project. Much of it will be underway and completed before I'm going, but not all of it.
Did you know that there were 2 more people running against him now?
I did not.
Bridget brought that up this morning at the executive committee.
And-
One is a woman, one's a man, I think. Is that right, Bridget?
Well, I didn't bring it up. Ann Maneri brought it up, and one is Cal Wentworth. And there's a lady, and I don't know her name.
Jennifer somebody.
Yes, I can't remember who.
Well, they've still got a couple of weeks yet for sign up, so there could be
Right.
more.
Okay, we've gotten that taken care of.
Do I need to come back for A&O?
Not
Eric
for
says
me.
no. Eric says no.
Not,
Okay,
not for
thank you.
me. No,
Great.
you're clear.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Doug.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. Stay safe.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Yep, you too.
Bye now. All right, I think that goes, I think that's it for the finance committee. Is there anything else we have to do for the committee? Am I missing something, Bridget?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
Move
I
for
would entertain-
adjournment. Move for adjournment.
okay,
Okay, see you in 15.
all right. We'll call back in. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.